You're listening to the Paracasual Destiny Podcast, episode 41. Well, warm welcome everyone, and thanks for tuning in. We are the Paracasual Destiny Podcast, and I am Sool Time. And by the way, we do broadcast live every other Saturday night. We shoot for 7 p.m., but like tonight, we're off to a late start. But better late than never. And you can find the archived audio wherever you get your podcasts. I'm joined tonight by Romance Girl. Are you there,
Hello?
Romance? Hello. And Green Stego.
Good evening, y'all.
There he is, the one and only. And of course, with me here in the northeast part of the United States is Salliebug. Salliebug, how are you tonight?
I am doing just fine. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks in part also to a little bit of coffee Coke, I heard.
Yes.
Yeah, not a bad product.
Sponsored episode.
Caramel
Sure.
flavor. Quite good.
To get a quick announcement out of the way, we are now on Amazon Podcasts. How do you like them apples? So if you prefer to that platform over on Amazon, seems like everybody's getting into the podcast business, at least being a podcast app or service, right? I think even Facebook, I got something from Facebook saying, put your RSS feed on your Facebook page. Well, we don't have a Facebook page, but there are our executive producers are talking about starting a Paracasual Destiny Podcast Facebook page, of all things. Could you imagine? First Twitter and then Facebook? I don't know how
Taking social media by storm.
Exactly, and by surprise. So what's everybody been up to? I think we were just talking before we came on live here, and full disclosure, I speak for Salliebug too. We have not been getting on as much as we would like between work obligations and outside of work, sort of adulting obligations. We've been having a hard time finding the time to get on, and when we do have the time, we're kind of comatose and unable to give it the attention it needs and deserves. But so much good is happening in this franchise right now that we've been dedicated to for almost a decade. Well, it's been over 7 years now. We've been playing this game. What's everybody been up to since we last spoke 2 weeks ago?
Well, down here in Texas, we played just like a little bit. Such is the life of a casual gamer.
We might have to change the name of the podcast to the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. Two casuals.
Casual even by a casual standard.
Or the Super Casual Expialidocious.
Right. I am really appreciating, first off, this has been an ongoing thing that we've mentioned off and on, but the story is just absolutely killing it. And the weekly model that they have, where you don't miss the story of the week if you don't play, you just get caught up the next week.
Yep.
You
and you can experience both weeks at once. Mwah! Chef's kiss. It's amazing.
Casual friendly.
There's no pressure. There's no stress associated with,
It's as if they flushed FOMO down the toilet.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah.
It is good. It is good.
And right, just really appreciative of the that you're not feeling like you're missing out on something. And I feel like the community as a whole have been like super good about, hey, if you don't want to hear, if you haven't gotten this far and you don't want to hear it, you may want to turn our podcast off, or
Yeah,
spoiler
I think a lot of
warnings
the good that
on.
came out of last season''s mega spoilers was that
Right.
there's some
So,
literacy learned about
Spoiler
spoilers.
literacy.
right.
Yeah,
Right. I mean,
I know,
and I'm
for
loving
reals.
that too, because it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, like, if you haven't gotten that far along, life has gotten in the way and you haven't been able to play or whatever, or experience those that you have the opportunity to experience it in game at
Yeah.
your own pace, and that other people
Well, we don't.
in the overall Destiny community have been really good about, hey, we're going to be talking about this, so if you haven't experienced it yet,
And we are gamer couples, so and I think we go through this sort of the same cycle of wanting to wait till the other person's available to do it together, to go through the story together. So it's like, what? You did this, you did that, and no. So there's been a few times over the past couple of weeks where I am available to play and Salliebug isn't. And what I've been doing is getting on my alt characters, my Titan and my Hunter are my alt characters, and just going back and doing some Europa, some Beyond Light stuff, like getting some of the new Stasis abilities and things like that, and revisiting that. And that's been very rewarding and refreshing and fun. And then Salliebug comes along, and I go on the other Xbox, get on my main, and then we do some Season of the Lost. We just started the Ager quest, exotic quest. Well, we're up to like step 3 or 4. We're almost done. I think we've got a few more things to do.
We got to the point where we have the actual exotic quest. We did the tracing the stars.
We did all the tracing the stars, and then
right.
we're getting there.
We're close. We're close.
But it meant we took a break from finishing the sort of the main quest, the main seasonal quest, to get the story and to progress your compass and all that stuff. But it's sort of, they're like in tandem now, wouldn't you say, Salliebug? Like what we're doing in the exotic quest, we're also doing stuff to progress the compass and get some of the seasonal challenges done as well. And it just all kind of happens really organically just by playing. The only active thing I've been doing, and I really do need to make some builds for my alt characters because they're just basically, zero mods. Just, all their stuff is zero modded, their armor. But it's the only active thing is picking weapons to finish up bounties and get the XP. Choosing the right weapon for a bounty. That's been really the only kind of, but I've been playing very passively. In other words, just picking up the controller and playing and seeing what happens. And it's amazing how many of those triumphs and quest steps open up organically and progress organically doing that. And I appreciate that. It's fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun this morning, just exploring the Shattered Realm, and we
I
haven't
love it.
really been, unless we get stuck, we don't really watch any videos or anything. We just kind of, which makes it take forever, and that's why it's the only thing we did today.
Right. But
we,
still,
are just
there's something to be
jumping
said for
around
that.
Looking for, it just kind of feels like very RPG in a way that Destiny hasn't felt in a long time, where we're just kind of jumping around looking for the next place to go, and then we'll run into a secret chest and figure out how to get to it. And it's just been really fun. I really love the Shattered Realm this season.
And it does make it hard for us to have it be in such good shape. And, well, you know what? There's a lot of bugs, evidently. Well, at least according to Paul Tassi. And one of the
he's on top of it.
One of the advantages of being this casual is by the time I get around to doing an activity, it's already been fixed. So I'm
I was
not
thinking
running
that
into
the
all
other
the
day.
yeah, I'm not running into
Well, I'm
all
not going to get to that catalyst quest for a while, so.
right. But we did run into a bug today, and it was when we got the chests at the end of the astral alignments. They weren't giving us anything, and so Salliebug got on Reddit or whatever. What was it, Salliebug? You just checked something out and online and said, "Oh,
Aura.
yeah. It depends on the order. So the workaround is you open the, I forget what it was called, the sort of the special chest first, and then
The trove, right?
the trove.
Chest.
Yeah, and you open
You
the
had to do the
trove
trove
one
chest.
first.
In my world, it was the one on the right. I just remember.
Yeah, that's
you did
right.
the one on the right
Yeah.
first instead of the one on the left. Instead of
And it
going left
worked.
to right.
Interesting.
And it worked. We started getting loot.
Right. And it was like I went on Reddit and it's like, this is a thing. And yep, people were talking about it like a minute earlier. So I knew it wasn't just me.
just after, since last reset.
Wow.
Hasn't been fixed yet. But
we got to work around.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Open the
Well, there you
trove chest first. Yeah.
That's another positive of the game blowing up in popularity lately.
Oh, and that's I think that's a perfect segue into the other big thing that's happening in the game, and that is the trials, the grand trials, rebirth, and experiment that has been going on, and that we have been following via Twitter and podcasts in basically during our commute to and from work, but have yet to jump in and experiencing that ourselves. I was kind of hoping we would get somebody like a certain clan mate to jump into chat or even come into voice here and give us some insight, because I know some of our clan mates have gone flawless and actually experienced this new, from my perspective, as a casual PvE main, not doing minimal PvP. It seems like it's amazing what they're really, trying something here. Good, bad, or indifferent. They're really trying a multi-pronged approach to making a healthy playing environment that's fun for a larger range of people, not just PvP endgame sweaty people. So they're trying to invite a larger part of the community to hop in and have some fun in this game mode. And I just was wondering what your perception, you guys thought of what's going on.
We're not PvP players. I have not personally jumped into the new trials, but for the first time in a long time, I'm like excited to try it. Before it would be like, okay, I'll give it a try, but I wasn't necessarily like excited about the upcoming gameplay or how it would play out. And now I think that I am a little excited to just see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's been a lot of controversy about the latest on how they're implementing the flawless pool, which doesn't really affect me in that, except it will just determine when I would see a flawless stack, right?
Sure.
So it's obviously a balance on making the game still rewarding. I think the main thing is, if it's going to get harder for those flawless players, they should get some more rewards. Just rain a little more loot on it. But it already seems like they are raining quite a bit of loot, which I appreciate, and that's been what Trials has missed all along.
Yeah. So there's been two there's been 2 weekends, not including this one. This is the 3rd weekend, is that right? Of the revamp trials, and it's labs, so it's a different game, slightly different game mode with the capture zone, which I haven't tuned in to much commentary on that. Some people are like meh, when I say some people, I'm really talking about content creators, full-time streamer folks that we follow.
We actually just watched an Astacross video on his initial thoughts.
What was he saying? And I'm curious. I haven't seen that yet.
He gave a very balanced response. He said that I can see where people, I think generally the community is a little sour on it. And he said, I can see where people are coming from. But he also made a big point of pointing out the positives of that, and that is it eliminated immediately the camping, where you have these games that are drawn out for over 10, 15 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
Because each side is camping and waiting for the other side to push in.
Right.
And when he said, when you bring in the capture the zone, immediately it got rid of that, and the cards were, if you want to have fast cards, this is like a great direction to go in. It needs a little bit of tweaking.
Sure.
And but I think that I appreciated his response, that it wasn't like all negative or positive, that he broke down what he saw as the pros and cons.
Yeah, and kudos to him and many others who are at that caliber, and they work that hard to create content and stream, and it's a busy life.
Yes.
It's a lot of work.
Much appreciated on this end.
And it's hard not to get jaded, or hard not to understand, sort of get a third person perspective on an entire gaming community, an entire game. It's not just all about 3 stacks going in and going flawless 40 times in a weekend. But because there is an attitude out there, is like, you're taking away my 40 flawlesses and all the carries that I get the donations and subs on my screen. There's like this like entitlement thing. You're taking away that, or you're going to make that harder for me to do. And like, from our perspective, the opposite, the casual perspective, not necessarily our personal perspectives, but from the casual side, it's like, I'm not going to play if I'm just going to go in 5-0 over and over, get pub stomped, right? I'm just not going to play. And so it's going to and that's what happened.
Right. And the flip side of what they're saying is, I won't be able to 1v3 anymore.
Right.
And it's like, well, maybe that's not the type of game mode this is. Maybe there isn't Sherpaing and trials.
So
I hate to say that, because I know it's a long tradition.
Yeah.
But that is kind of, I feel like, what Bungie's getting at, is that maybe that's not great for the 3 players that you're 1v3ing.
I'll tell you what I was surprised about, and I don't want to belabor this because we're not trials players and we're not big PvP people, but I am fascinated by all that they've done here. They've done so many things to discourage recovs, to discourage cheating, to put a paywall in place, and then all of this, the bringing, not being afraid to bring some forms of matchmaking based on skill, whether it's just by going a flawless pool or the help you out pool. If you've gone 10-0, you get a little help. You get thrown down into a pool of other people who are struggling, and just to boost you up, pull you up by the bootstraps a little bit. So they're not afraid to start toying around with this stuff, which is,
yes.
I just think it's
use
great.
The word confident. It feels they're much more confident, being like, we're going to try this weekend. We're going to try it. And before, they were so timid to tweak anything that it just ended up going stale.
Good point.
Faster than they could change anything.
So,
and I feel like you can just, then, like you said, they're not afraid, and it's just this confidence that, like, you know what, this is our game mode, and we're gonna manipulate it the way we want to.
Yeah, I really like the direction that it's going in right now. I think that right now it's a lot closer to it being a playlist for almost everybody. Because before it was just like, are you a trials player? The answer is like yes or no. And now there's just like so many more like different kinds of responses that you can give. It's like, yeah, I play like some weekends, I got some loot, it's fun. I usually lose. Or you can be like, yeah, I've gone to the lighthouse a few times, or I go to the lighthouse once every weekend, or like, yeah, I grind the lighthouse. And somebody, like, all those responses are like completely different, but like tell you like the general competitive skill level of that player. And like, now grinding the lighthouse, it still carries a lot of like prestige, but it's nowhere near as like I don't know, elitist kind of.
Right. Well, I'm waiting for a meme to come out where somebody, came in for trials, stayed for the story. You know, because I feel like they're drawing in a lot of people from the outside, and they're probably selling a lot of Beyond Light DLC at this point.
We just played we played with our third fire team member when we were doing Strike Playlist. Had never done Saber before. It was just very obvious. And he was ranked 24, which was a higher seasonal rank than we are.
Right. Probably playing trials and PvP, right?
Yeah, they just had obviously, didn't know where to go and just didn't know what to do. And so it was just like,
that's
wow,
great.
We helped this person beat Saber for the first time.
That's
like,
great. That's such a great story. I love hearing that. There's a whole new generation.
It could be that they're a PvP player and they were just like, maybe I'll try strikes. Or it could be that they've just never got that one on the playlist.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of cool to run into.
Absolutely. And I'm waiting for Haley C3PO to carry me through a flawless in trials here pretty soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Any day now.
I think she's not far from it, to be honest. Also. But anyway, Salliebug, do you have anything? You've been awfully quiet. Are you preparing for your lore section?
I have been, full disclosure. Romance Girl threw me down a rabbit hole that she went down earlier about whether Eris Morn is awoken. And so I'm just following that same rabbit, chasing that same hole. So
you weren't listening to any of our trials
I'm slightly distracted. No, but I have been listening to the trials. I mean, I honestly, I feel like I don't have, I'm of the same opinion as Sool Time. But to me, all the changes they're making, they're being very proactive and they're listening to feedback, but on the same respect. And as what Romance Girl was saying, they're like saying, hey, we're listening to your feedback, but and I think and now I may be like, this is where I blipped and wasn't listening. Sool Time, did you bring up that Cami Cakes? I think it was a video he put out. Did you mention that?
No.
Where he said it all kind of just depends on the perspective of what you're looking for in that game mode.
Well, no, that's not what he said.
Touched on that idea.
He said you can't really critique what's going on until we know what their goal is. Because without knowing what Bungie's goal is for the game mode, you really can't say whether what they're doing is good or bad. And that was before the latest TWAB where they actually kind of stated what their goal was. So that's kind of, it's kind of redundant at this point.
I know, but I feel like or if he didn't say it directly, he kind of hinted at, it is kind of, it's their game mode and whatever their perspective of what they're looking for in the game. And we quite kind of don't know what that is yet at the time when he put that out.
Right.
But it all, it also has to do with you kind of have to temper what your expectations of the game mode are based on what the overall vision is and making sure that you're taking into consideration the overall community and what's healthy for the game mode. Like, what is it? Is it healthy for the game mode to have these carries? Is it healthy for the game mode to have those top one or 2%ers?
I'll tell you what I didn't see coming was the solo queuing. The solo and duo queuing, and they're really pushing that hard.
I think they're embracing it.
They are. They're saying that has to be a thing. We weren't just experimenting with it. That's a core thing that they want to keep.
Well, solo queue was a labs, and I think they actually specifically were dubious of solo queue. But they wanted to do it as a labs anyway because it was so hotly requested.
And they noticed
but they said in the last
that
TWAB it's important. They feel that's not going away. They want that to work.
It's 50% of the gameplay. 50% of the
population.
Of the population
are solo players.
Are solo players.
Solo or
and
duo.
If there's that many people who really do, and I heard it from a couple of, I forget, it might have been The Last Word, but I can't quite remember one of the podcasts we listened to. It actually might have been DCP actually, where they were saying, hey, trying to get a fire team together and knowing that it was going to be a 2 or 3 hour thing, whereas as a solo player I could just get on my card and play 1 or 2 games when I had an opportunity to, and then hop off and go do life and then come back if I could, but that I don't feel obligated to do it, that it kind of
you don't have to do it all in one large chunk,
right? And so from a casual player's perspective, I think that's definitely great. Like, I understood the whole concept behind them wanting the fire team, and that you had to have a fire team, but I think they were kind of proven wrong through having the experiment with the solo queuing, that it could work.
Yeah. It sounds like it's here to stay. At least they feel it's a very integral part of this whole experiment going forward to make it work.
And actually, and I said solo queuing, by the way, was 50%, but I should clarify that they were saying solo queuing are just two
solo or duo
fire teams,
right?
Yeah, solo or duos, not so were 50%, not.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking of the contemplation of whether you split the solo players from the rest of the pool or not.
Freestyle.
I don't think they're going to do that, though.
They did for the labs.
Oh, did they?
Last week, yes. But that's what I was saying, is I think that they were a little dubious about splitting the population, but wanted to give it a try anyway.
Right, right.
It makes sense on why you would want solo players to all play together.
Well, personally,
and honestly, with a trials population might be healthy enough to split at this point if they can keep it up.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, and that's kind of what what I'm liking to see is that they're very proactive with this right now. Like, they're doing a lot of they're attempting a lot of different changes and tweaks, and and then they attempted whole different game mode this time around. Well, not a whole different one, but an added layer to the existing game mode. So I appreciate that they're not just doing like one change and saying, okay, we're doing this one change and we're just going to let that ride for a little while. They're like really being very proactive and trying a lot of different things to try to get it to where they want it. I think my guess is trying to get it to where they want it to be once Witch Queen comes around, so they're not like just sitting on it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we could probably continue this conversation till the cows come home.
It's kind of, yeah. I mean, it's
so let's move on.
Like this
from us. Paracasual, like all four. Four of us haven't been in it even since it started.
We'll have more to report back when we played a card. So all right.
We do. Maybe we can get some clan mates or some other people in who have actually given it a go and can.
Well, next week is Iron Banner. So that's a great opportunity for us to earn some Pinnacle gear. And also there won't be trials that weekend.
Right. Yeah.
So heads up, our viewers. We'll see if we can hop in like maybe a little bit before the pod. The following weekend.
Yeah, following weekend. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the next segment here. It's time for Paracasual loadouts. Paracasual loadouts. What have you been using in your sporadic play? Well, I'll go first. I'll just say again, I've been on my alt characters. I've been using completely completely mod-free armor. Just like I save my highest rolls, my favorite rolls, and but for my warlock, I've been using, actually with the Season of the Lost, I've been using the seasonal armor, because I'm sure there's a triumph or something in there that wants you to do those astral alignments wearing seasonal armor. Although I could be wrong. I have not investigated that. And weapons-wise, like I said, I just switch around for the bounties, but I've been kind of partial to duality because I'm trying to get the catalyst finished, or is that the quest for the catalyst? I forget, one of those. And I've also fooled around with the new Stasis hand cannon, and I forget what it's called.
Vulpecula?
Vulpecula, and I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it too.
It's really punchy.
It feels fun.
It's like boom, 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 you're dead. I like it.
Do you have that stasis perk for it?
Yeah, everyone's
Headstone
talking about headstone, right?
I have
think
the
I have a headstone
sidearm,
one.
which I think it's the
Iron Banner.
Is it the Iron Banner one?
Mhm.
I have the Iron Banner one, Peace Bond with headstone, and I'm having so much fun with it. It's a lot of fun. It's especially fun if you have your stasis. Like if I have my stasis subclass and shatter dive on, so I could do headstone and then shatter it. Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Okay,
So-
I've got, no joke, 2, 4, 6. I've got 8 Vulpeculas I need to look at and choose.
That's hilarious.
I want an
Yeah.
outlaw headstone Vulpecula.
Oh my gosh, that'd be great.
Okay, what was
I
that?
haven't-
Say that
I
again.
haven't-
Outlaw headstone?
Outlaw headstone.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I have been with fear of like my vault getting super full. I have been doing based on actually Romance Girls, or was it Soul Times? One of the two of you, maybe you both said it. Just like as you get something, just throwing it in the vault rather than like dealing with it right away.
That's what I've been doing.
I'm kind of having that same situation happen where I'm getting like, I think I do have that one Peace Bond with headstone, but I think I've got another 5 that are in my vault that I haven't like really looked at to see what there is. So,
Shout out to Dim for their tags and filters.
the amount of time that I have
Absolutely.
to play these days is just so limited, so that when I do want to get on, I just want to get on and play. Like I don't want to like have to go in and say, okay, I'm going to spend a half an hour trying to figure out which Peace Bond I want to keep.
Stego and I do that in separate sessions. It's like, do you want to play Destiny or do you want to do item management for Destiny?
Right. So
We're like, oh, I should do some item management.
yeah, I usually have that item management thing become like a bigger thing that I do when I feel like I'm caught up and there's nothing else to do, or that like I don't feel like I'm not chasing an exotic quest or like trying to complete a quest line or whatever, that I have like a little bit of Destiny downtime, and that's a time to like. Go ahead.
I need to mention something about Dim since we're on the subject. I just noticed that they have updated their UI when comparing, and they've added a button that, like if you're comparing 8 different Vulpeculas,
Like I'm doing right now as we speak.
like you're doing right now, and at the on above each one of those, there's like these 4 buttons to like cancel it out of the comparison. or to lock it or to tag it. But there's this new one, this down arrow to pull item to active character that is.
Oh my
I just
God!
noticed
Thank
that.
God!
Wow.
Oh,
And
that's such a
they've
quality
changed
of
the UI
life.
a little too. Wow.
I know. I've been wanting that for so long. Like, it's just like having to exit out of that and then go to the one that I tagged as the one that I wanted to get rid of, and then put it over to my character to delete it was such a pain.
So
It
an
sounds
additional
so.
shout out to Dim for this new feature where
We
you
need
can
to
pull
put. We need to
items
have
to active character.
yeah. We need to have like a dim
Party.
slide.
Dim
Yeah.
Appreciation Day.
Dim
Dim
appreciation. Well, okay,
slide.
I've got my
live stream.
I've got my 8 Vulpeculas open in Dim, and the best I can do is Adagio in Outlaw. I don't have a
Not
Headstone
bad.
Outlaw.
I think I have.
But Adagio.
I don't have any with Headstone. What is Adagio?
Adagio.
Draws more slowly.
Yeah.
That's a made-up word.
Okay.
After
do it.
defeating a
I
target,
have-
this weapon fires charges or
I don't
draws
mind
more
that
slowly.
for a hand cannon because I already use hand cannons really slow. I don't like using them fast.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have.
But you
I
get
have that
Adagio
for
gives you
my,
that increased damage. So
Yeah, so it's
The-
increased
the
damage for not
newest-
much trade-off. Well, I mean, in PvP, that'd be a harder trade-off.
Yeah.
yeah.
I have
Like
I have
reverse
that Adagio
Desperado.
on a bow, and it's actually I just like I didn't notice a huge difference, except for the next shot being really nice. So
Yeah,
I think there's
because
probably
you
certain
usually-
weapons like I
if you're
could see
probably
with a
already lining
with
up
a
your
bow,
shot,
it's not
yeah,
really
if-
matters, right?
If you're
It
already
doesn't really
lining up your
matter.
shot before you're shooting, then you probably won't notice it, which is what I like to
Right.
do with hand cannons anyway.
One other thing that I tried to do today, and I didn't really notice it. Again, it kind of like hung out in the background, but one of the bounties I picked up from the compass was get arc ability kills, and so I threw on my arc subclass, which I hadn't done in a while, and Romance
your
Girl,
hunter?
you're right. It's a lot fun. It's so much more fun. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is lasting forever. I don't remember one just lasting forever because I usually remember like unless I was wearing that
Raiden
chest
Flux.
piece. Yeah, unless I was wearing Raiden Flux, it seemed like it lasted like 3 seconds, and I had like got 3 kills, but it was really lasting a long time. And just the target, like
You
being
can do a
able to,
slam
like,
attack, and it will actually do a slam attack.
yeah,
It's
and
so
and
great.
target like
So
when
fun.
I actually like it felt like when I was targeting a certain enemy to hit that enemy, it was hitting it and not like trying to hit the one that was like behind me 3 feet away.
Yeah,
You know, like the
exactly.
targeting just feels so much
It did.
better.
I don't even remember if they mentioned that they dealt with the targeting, but the targeting does feel better. It was it was really wonky.
Yeah, it
before.
was. So I was having some fun with it. I picked up the Shinobu's Vow from Zur and kind of poked it up. But one of the other things I did was like, and I don't know, I should know this from listening and watching Stego's Mod Academy, but I thought, well, I'm going to do an ARC subclass, so maybe I'll put on ARC armor, but I have no idea whether that even makes a difference. But I psychologically felt like it did. But my
That's
ARC
all that
armor,
counts.
yeah, my ARC armor happens to be my Garden of Salvation armor
that's fun.
set, and I love the look of that set.
That's
I
cool.
just
look,
I
yeah.
just love the like I really like it. So I was like, wow, I haven't worn this in a while. It used to be my go-to because it was my only masterworked set for the longest time. And
Have you
So-
turned it into universal ornaments yet?
I have not. I have not.
Oh.
I haven't really put a lot of time with universal ornaments or done that yet. So I don't know. But the other thing that I did was I used to be like really hooked on like the charged with light thing, but I decided to go with the arc elemental wells, And again,
Woo!
I think that was just kind of hanging out in the background, like just saying, okay, well, if it happens, it happens. And I didn't notice anything in particular. Like I didn't notice anything significantly different about it. Like it's like, oh wow, that I'm picking up a bunch of elemental. Like I didn't notice a bunch landing on the ground, and I was picking them up, but maybe it was happening. I just didn't notice it.
Well, it's like matching your subclass, right? It's specific.
Right.
Damage type.
But I was like, I didn't notice a whole lot of like arc elemental wells on the ground, but that didn't mean that they weren't there.
Well, I'm gonna ask. Do you remember which which elemental well mod you put in that spawns?
I think it seems like a couple of them were related to either grenade or arc final blow. I mean, like melee final blows. Like one was a melee final blow, and I think one might have been a grenade final blow.
Okay, this sounds like you're guessing.
It does, but you're asking me if I have memory of like what mod I'd put on, and that was like 12 hours ago, so I have no idea. But I do have, I know, this is one thing I do know. I do know that they were related to the subclass, like one of my abilities. So I know that I didn't do the art. I know that I didn't do the weapons matching your subclass type ones because I didn't have weapons that were matching my subclass at the time. Although it turns out I did, but I didn't realize I did. So
wait, I'm confused now.
I didn't pick the one where you get final blows with a weapon that matches your subclass, drops an elemental well. There is a mod that's like that. I didn't choose that one because when I was first putting my loadout together, I did not have a weapon on that matched my subclass. But then I ended up putting Wardcliff Coil on, which did match my subclass, but I didn't realize it at the time. So that's what I was saying. Maybe that would have helped. I don't know.
Well, maybe next time we're both on, I'll help you tweak that elemental.
Yeah,
tweak it up a little bit.
You know what? In reality, my mods are never like fully 100% right unless I've got Stego on with me.
Would you say that it's best to have a full armor set for each element? Like a full set of solar armor, a full set of arc, void, and stasis? Just to cover all the bases?
I mean, yeah, and ideally you have each one in a 60 to 70 base stat roll.
Sure.
Across the board.
And then you can mix and match.
Your two favorite, ideally, like intellect and recovery, or intellect and your classes.
Resilience for a Titan. Mobility for a Titan.
Recovery is more expensive for like boosting that up if you want to like give that an extra oomph. So it technically is more worthwhile to have it be an intellect recovery roll.
Save you some coin.
We're not doing Mod Academy this week, so we can move on.
Let's move on.
But I will say that I actually did do that Soul time. I have one set that's arc, that's my Garden of Salvation armor, and then I have one set that is void, and I think that's my Deepstone Crypt armor, and then my most recent the Stasis armor I got from Iron Banner. So
nice.
And I do have a solar one.
We ended up doing a Mod Academy after all.
I don't remember what my solar.
No, this is just
solar set is. But Salliebug went, oh my god, you absolutely do not want me giving you any kind of mod advice.
We gathered.
Well, that's the perfect segue into our bi-weekly bi-weekly rotating segments. This segment is features some lore, and let's without any further ado, let's continue with it. The Paracasual Destiny podcast presents
On with it.
A Touch of Grimoire with our host Salliebug. Salliebug, what do you have for us this week?
Because this week, and I think I'm actually going to put, just since I've been praising other people for doing spoiler warnings, I'm going to say it myself for those of you who have not started the Ager Sceptre quest and gotten any of the lore from that. This is a spoiler warning. We're going to start talking about that. So
highly suggest you go do that quest right now.
Go do that quest.
Cars.
All right, I'll be right back.
Some great, there's some great lore in it. I highly recommend it. And that's what we're going to kind of discuss right now because it's so good. Just as Stego mentioned before, is like they're hitting it out of the park with their story writing and their lore writing, and they're taking on this story of Queen Marasov and her twin brother Aldrin, and kind of tackling their origin story, but also their relationship, and it's interwoven with this myth that Aldrin has, I guess, their mother, Aldrin and Mara's mother, told them, and Aldrin really liked, and also told to the awoken children in the reef about the twin kestrels, Ager and Rhaega. It's kind of amazing. It's good storytelling, and what I did was I started, outside of just like obviously listening to that dialogue over and over again, because a lot of people out on YouTube have kind of recorded it and put it out there so you can hear it again. That you get bits and pieces of this myth of the kestrels, the twin kestrels, as you're going on with some added input from Mara and Aldrin as well. And so yeah, what do you guys think? I was kind of blown away by I did a lot of research to see if this kind of mimics any other like myths that are out there, and there's quite a few, like the whole concept of twin brother and sisters, like that happens in a lot of different mythological stories throughout lots of different cultures. But this one in particular seems uniquely Destiny. Like I wasn't able to find anything very similar to it in the limited time I had for research. So if I'm wrong and you guys know about it, then let us know in the comments or send a message out to us via Paracasual P on Twitter or whatever. But what do you guys think of it?
I am loving it. I'm loving getting to hear more of Queen Marasov. She's always been very mysterious, and honestly, the more we hear from her, the more I'm a little dubious. But I just absolutely adore any Awoken lore and extra time we get to spend in the Dreaming City.
But you have no thoughts on the Kestrel story?
In terms of it being like referential to another mythos, no, I don't know. But like it's obviously like directly what's the word? Not analogous, but
I think you could say analogous.
to the story of
Allegorical.
Allegorical, yes. It's an allegory for the real life tales of Queen Marasov and Prince Oldrinsov.
Now that is a hot take.
Well, it's not even just a hot take because Marasov comes right out and actually says, in case you haven't guessed it.
Oh, okay, so it's a cold take at this point.
Riga and Ager are, they're representative of us in our relationship. So
yeah.
And so I guess what it sounds like is that this was like a story that their mother created to kind of like give them a story about themselves and why she tried to protect them, I guess. And it gives a little bit more information about kind of their growing up. And at one point, Mara says she never even considered their mother, her real mother, probably because she felt, almost like reborn, during the whole like period of time when the Awoken like actually came into being.
The Awakening.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it fair to say that Mara Sov is the Savathun, or a Savathun type figure for the Awoken?
Yeah, and I mean, she
like
even
a god.
says, like, at some point, she even says, like, they took on the form, like, I'm the one who chose the form that we all have, and that the others followed me. So she's kind of like almost a little arrogant in that way. It's like everything the Awoken are they are because of me, because I'm
well, if we're to believe the Marasena, that's true as well.
That's
like
right.
She is their god, and she is the first Awoken.
Right. And so, I mean, it's
in a way, yeah. It's a little weird to think of it that way, though, right?
Right. I mean, and just like that whole that whole origin of the Awoken in general, and then of course she says, well, my brother was kind of like a weakling, and I had to kind of guide him along for him to come into being. So she's always had this almost like underling, he's my brother, so I kind of have to accept him, but she kind of doesn't almost feels like she doesn't respect him. So that's
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the storm that's talked about in this story an allegory for? Is that the collapse?
No, I don't think so. I think the collapse happened well, maybe like what.
Did anybody pick up on that?
Were the Awoken born out of the collapse? Was it like their ship?
Yeah, they were part of the humans that were going to start a new colony.
Right. And then they kind of like ran into the darkness, right? They ran into a storm of sorts. So I think that's what the storm is kind of supposed to be. And the distributary, was that like the ship that they were on? Because there's like
no. Or sorry, I'm actually not completely sure. The distributary I thought was the Awoken home. The Awoken
homeland,
plane,
right?
Homeworld, yeah.
So where they ended up landing when the ship.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I
The
don't know if
colony ship.
an actual landing is.
It wasn't
is
really
described.
landing, almost like a
reawakening, if you will.
a reawakening. Yeah.
We didn't
like
land
awoken.
on the distributary. The distributary landed on us.
They somehow had some kind of clash with the darkness and that's where they ended up being, where they found themselves. And I don't know. I am just
Clearly.
like the most terrible.
You're no Mylan.
I'm no Mylan Gates. Look, if you guys really want to know this stuff, you know where to go.
Although you've been having
a casual take.
She's been having some serious disagreements with Mylan recently.
Not serious.
No. I'd say serious from a lore perspective.
There are a lot of people lore-wise who think that Osiris is dead, and I'm not convinced yet. That's all.
I'm not convinced either. I feel like they wouldn't kill him so unsanctimoniously.
Right.
Like, if he is dead, we're going to need a confirmation later, and I don't think that, it just doesn't make sense for them to have this big reveal of Savathun, and then later we read a lore entry that's by the way, Osiris died that day.
Right. I mean, I think
why wouldn't they address it right away?
For me, and I was mentioning this to Sool Time earlier, in that my memory of the way we interacted with Osiris in the season The Chosen, was it? Because that's the season it happened, right? That was the season where we were fighting Xivu Arath.
Season of the Hunt.
Season of the Hunt. Yes.
Yeah, Season of the Hunt.
So,
season
and
14.
Our interactions with Osiris just didn't seem as I wasn't as skeptical of but maybe that was just good writing and good acting on their part, but it felt like at that point Osiris hadn't lost 100% of his personality. She hadn't completely taken it over at that point. I don't know. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, no, I completely agree. I've even floated the theory that he'll turn into a ghost. She's making hive ghosts. I don't know. And we don't really know how that works yet, how a personality gets trapped inside a ghost.
Right. Well, we've seen we've seen people get trapped inside harpies.
She's kind of taken over his form, but I don't feel like she's necessarily taken over. And then you had that whole the lore that we read was it a couple of weeks ago, where it was actually from him going, "No, it's me. Why are you so
the theory that you're referring to is that when she turns back into Savathun, then the Osiris that's screaming from behind her is no longer there anymore. That's what Mylan and et al. I think are saying.
Right.
That if she's destroyed his body and he was trapped in his body, then where is Osiris trapped? I think we have plenty of instances in Destiny where a soul or spirit is trapped somewhere outside of their body.
Right.
Apparently now we have an instance where they were a spirit trapped inside their body, but not controlling their body. So I think there's still a lot of space in the lore for Osiris to still be alive in some way.
I'm 100% agreement there. But all of that being said, so we've given a lot of backstory of this, of the Kestrels and the interaction between Morozov, and I agree with you. I think Morozov's acting kind of a little bit I'm just a little bit skeptical of her. I don't know. There are a lot of parallels between her and Savathun, right?
Dubious.
I'm Queen of the Awoken, and my focus is on just the survival of my people and my own self-preservation, so to speak.
Whoa!
Which
Wasn't there? Sorry to bring up more lore. Wasn't there a
right.
whole thing where she was actually kind of controversial for sacrificing Awoken to go fight for humanity in the Reforce?
Yes.
I could be getting the information wrong, but that's just my memory.
And I don't know, like, because of like her involvement in like taking on the Taken King, right? And sacrificing herself for that. But then you've got that whole thing
She was gonna sacrifice us for that.
Between her and Eris, because she said this was all part of the plan. She's got this thing going on, and let's not forget. We kind of just brought it up. It's like she was born out of some kind of conflict with the darkness. So there's darkness within the Awoken. It's all very it's again, great story writing and great storytelling, but it does make you a little bit skeptical of like what her motivations are.
Okay, but like also again, spoilers, but the end of the Beyond Light story, where we embraced the power of stasis, was because we discovered that we have darkness within us as well. Everyone's got a little darkness.
We have the ability, right? Well, I mean, I feel like Destiny has always been leading to that. The
Traveler is of the darkness.
Well, no, I think it's always just been leading to this, like that walking the fine line between good and evil, and that nobody is ever just one or just the other.
Yeah, you go to that line and look up. What does that mean? Have you guys got into that part yet?
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
And of course, that like the repetition of the line between light and dark is so very thin, right? I think that's been kind of the overall arching theme.
The mysteries persist.
Exactly. Let's read some lore. So we can go down a few more rabbit holes, or at least the one that you threw me down earlier. So, Stego, would you be so kind as to read the lore that is on Ager's Sceptre, which none of us have actually gotten yet, but we have all read this lore. So, again, spoiler warning if you haven't gotten it yet. So,
Ager's Sceptre. One day you will mold the world to your liking, dear brother, as I always have. Queen Marasov. Marasov watched her brother imitate a swooping bird as he entertained a semicircle of children. They flocked to him as if the stories he spun were confections. Aldrin lurched to his feet, his shadow casting a heroic pose against a canopy of towering baryon trees, and thrust a slender blade into the air. Straight through the storm, he howled, as awoken children shrieked with laughter and applause. That's right, the two kestrels were like blades sailing on the wind, he said, sheathing the fine steel. As long as they were together, nothing could stop them. Mara turned to survey the awoken flotilla anchored deep within their borders, suspended around a floating starport. Soon they would disembark. This night was for revelry, for families to enshrine in their memories should loved ones fail to return. In the morning, Saturn waited. Far-off asteroids groaned like thunder, sending the children into a frenzy of gasps. Sounds like Ager's having another battle, Aldrin said, stepping onto a bench to get a better view. He brought a hand to his brow, as if sighting an advancing storm front. A young, awoken child, no older than 6, stood. Uldren watched the worry well in her eyes. Is he okay? Can you see them fighting? Oh yes, Uldren answered. Come here. The child stepped forward. If I'm not mistaken, your name is Aerith, isn't it? Uldren asked. The girl nodded, awestruck. Uldren pulled a looking glass from his belt and placed it in her hand. Look where I'm pointing. Aerith followed the prince's direction to a spot in the sky that flashed with color. I see Ager, she proclaimed proudly. I see Riga. Uldren patted her shoulder and smiled. As long as the two of them are together, nothing can stop them. Just like us. Stand with your cousins, and you'll be all right. Mara met his eyes and stepped forward. That's enough. The prince has a long journey in the morning, and he must rest. Run along now. Once the children were beyond eyesight, Mara's expression shifted to a glare. These stories, she leaned into Uldren. Stop filling their heads with nonsense.
So clearly Mara is not as taken with the Riga and Ager story as Uldren is. And I think part of that is that it's the story, as at least as Uldren is telling it to the children here, is that Mara and Uldren, or Ager and Riga, are as one, right? That they're working together, they're fighting together. And I feel like Mara doesn't feel that same way. I don't think she feels that she needs her brother to accept, to mold towards her own, what her desires are. That's hinted upon in the story as we're going through it right now, that Uldren is susceptible to influence, and I think she has her own what's the word I'm looking for? I think she has her own ideas of what she wants, or how she wants to use Uldren. In other words, just like to use him, that it's not her working with him, so to speak.
Machinations.
So, but in the small, or rather large, rabbit hole that you kind of sent me down is this Eris Morn, and I did enough research to find out that that's probably not true, because this seems to be taking place this story right here that we just read seems to be taking place right before the conflict with the Taken King on Saturn, and we know that Eris Morn was already very much a guardian, and had already gone and come back from her fight with Crota, and was working with Mara at the time, during that time frame. But the question is Eris Morn awoken? And that's something that's kind of come up in the lore Reddit forums often enough. And honestly, it seems like the community is about 50-50. Like, there's evidence that says, nope, she's a human. There's here's this evidence. And then there's others evidence going, well, it says that, but there's not necessarily evidence that she actually is human, but that just that she was a child of the city, and that there were awoken in the city, in the last city, that is. So It's interesting. I started down that hole, so I haven't actually quite formed an opinion yet, although I'm leaning towards the heiress is an awoken because of the way she addresses both the queen and Queen Mara, that is, and Ager as her cousin. So she doesn't quite look awoken, but then again, like the trauma that she went through in trying to get back.
We just heard a story where Aldrin told the younglings to stand with your cousins.
Right, like that. The
right.
cousins. Yes, that's what awoken call each other cousins.
A comrade.
Right, it's kind of their. Well, I mean, it's kind of like people like calling each other brother, like when they have a brotherhood, right? That they're feeling like they have a connection with. You know what I'm saying? Like a connection to each other in some way. So it's their brotherhood or whatever. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking is going on. So, but like clearly her calling him, some people say she's calling him cousin because they both went through a traumatic experience. And so they share that kind of traumatic experience. Like her with having to kind of like disguise herself as Hive to get out of the pit. And Ager losing his arm, but I think it's more than that. Some people claim that they were actual cousins as children in the last city. So that's also possible. But
interesting that I've never thought about it before on whether she was awoken or human.
But
she's just Eris Morin.
I mean, but the fact that she calls Arasav my queen is like
that's what I'm most interested in. I don't know how she would have formed that allegiance.
Because even if she's like truly like just is like believes in what Mara is doing and is very close to her, why would she call her my queen and not just Mara? Or, you know, I don't know. It's just like maybe she's just adopted her as her queen because she believes in her plan. And
yeah, it's possible.
It's possible. But so yeah, those are kind of some of the lore and some of the rabbit holes. My little mind is going down, but thank you, Stego, for reading that and kind of talking about like that. But I felt like, again, just great writing and kind of, I think just even this small piece, you know, shows that the two of them clearly have a very different view of kind of like what their relationship is and what, you know, what position they have as
kestrels,
you know, or just you know, as twins and as brother and sister. I think Aldrin, although very loyal to Mara, feels way more like an equal to her, whereas she is more like he's my brother, so I'm going to take care of him, but he's not my equal.
Was there a similar power struggle amongst Oryx and his sisters? You would know that better than I. I don't know Hive lore that well.
I think that those three sisters, yeah, because I'm trying to think of how Oryx ended up being like the one to like finally be the one, like the king, so to speak.
Well, good luck
Some food for thought.
getting through
They
the
definitely,
exclusion
yeah.
zone.
I think they went through like kind of like that, like there was like this whole scene where they were like in their own throne world and killing each other to make themselves stronger, and going off to wars and killing whole civilizations. It's been a while.
Wow, that's really problematic.
Yeah, but it's basically most people's family gatherings at Thanksgiving.
Oh Lord. So yeah, but in terms of that, and maybe Savathun is kind of always like had like this level of, well, I mean, she has resentment towards like this relationship she has with the worm, but I think also like there's always been that, it feels like there's always been this, and you feel it like the duality between her and Ziva or Wrath, like that's going on, it has been over the last few seasons, that the two of them are vying for the void that was left after Oryx was destroyed. So maybe that existed even while he was there, right? That like they kind of let him have it, but maybe they let him have that power knowing that he was going to get destroyed anyway, and then it would just be
They're always like 6 steps ahead. How can I keep up?
Right. So I mean, it's a good chance that Savathun like knew all along that Oryx was going to get killed by the Guardians, and that this was all part of her plan even back then. And if that's the case, this is like even more amazing writing. It's just like this constant building up of, yeah, we'll let Oryx have some power here, because
I mean, the lore does just take place over such a long time span, right, too, and it's dealing with such these like big gods and world makers and world enders. It's just
like, we know fantastic. He's going down, so let's just let that whole thing play out, and then we'll make our play further on down the line. So this is, you know what? I am so looking forward to the Witch Queen. It's going to be amazing.
I hope they bring back Master Ives.
Well, that is inappropriate to laugh. He died, didn't he?
Yeah, he got murdered.
There was a murder.
There's a murder.
Yeah,
tower.
I don't see how first-degree murder is humorous, but okay.
Well, why did you say I hope they bring him back then?
Well, he could come back as an Guardian, or as an exo,
okay,
or as a ghost.
We already had Crow come back.
Ghost.
Well,
yeah, maybe he'll be a Hive General.
He might partner up with Eva Levante for the holiday special events.
It'll be interesting what festival.
This is getting too silly.
How festival of the
I'm getting tired.
Although, do y'all remember?
I think we.
Y'all remember Master Ives was the one that quest brought us back the Thunderlord, the first machine gun in Destiny 2?
I still love Thunderlord, honestly. I love that weapon.
I hope it, like, I haven't used it recently. I hope it's kind of like boosted a little bit.
Machine got a buff overall.
This they did. So I'm hoping that it
get out your Thunderlord and.
I had a lot of fun with
Get that Thunderlord,
because I hadn't used that in ages, but I just had one drop from me from an exotic engram. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Okay. Well,
but we gotta go. We're rambling now.
we're starting to ramble, which can be good, but also we do need to move on here to our final segment of the night, which is the esteemed
non-Destiny media consumption.
Yeah, so non-Destiny media consumption. What have we been consuming outside the world of Destiny? Let's let's make it brief and to the point. Because I kind of want to get on Destiny tonight a little bit. I always get hyped after these
Late night Destiny
podcasts. These discussions make me want to get on. So,
especially if you've been sipping on a Coke and coffee.
Coke and coffee, you got it. Salliebug, what you been eating? Mentally, mental nourishment.
Well, since the leaves up here have started to change, pumpkin spice is out in full force at all the coffee vendors.
That's right.
So to speak. So we said, okay, it's time to pull out our dark shadows consumption. So we pulled it back up, figured out where we left off last fall. We started watching it, figured out where we were able to pick it right back up.
Okay,
right
so to the uninitiated, Dark Shadows...
1897?
Right, Dark Shadows is a late 60s gothic soap opera that starred Jonathan Frid as Barnabas Collins, who is a vampire. And so it was one of the first of its kind to sort of combine vampirism with gothic romance, and also to garner sympathy towards the Dracula figure as a cursed individual seeking to be normal again. And I highly recommend it if anybody hasn't checked it out. It's just so unique and bizarre.
The nice thing about Dark Shadows, it is very, very gosh, what do I want to say? Hokey. Part of the fun of watching it is all the gaffs.
Yeah, there's a lot of gaffs. There's a lot of boom mics, shadows, and those are the dark shadows. The shadows of the boom mics.
Right, or the cameraman just like being in the scene by mistake.
But you're talking about a half hour. They would get in.
Low budget.
They would get in at 10 a.m. They would read the script, do a reading. They would do one rehearsal. They would have lunch. Then they would come back and film this thing in the afternoon, straight on through. Because back then, in 1966, 67, 68, you could not edit. Editing was too expensive, especially for the budget that this show was on. So it's live. It's live TV, essentially. A half hour straight, 2 cameras. So while one camera is doing one shot, the other one's setting up for the transition. And so a lot can go wrong. And it does go wrong. And people forget their lines because they just learned them like a few hours previous. But what they're able to, and most soap operas work that way, have worked that way in the past at least. And what they managed to pull off is phenomenal. And with the music and the mood and the staging and the sets,
following of it, but
sure,
it's great. And they take on like all of the classic horror storylines. You've got not only Dracula, you've got the vampire. They take on Frankenstein. They take on Phoenix, like the Phoenix. They take on Taming of the Shrew, Turn of the Screw. It's like the whole
werewolf.
Thing. The werewolf. You name any one of those classic horror genres, and they kind of cover it. They like it. The Crucible.
It's all there. The witch trials, right?
It's all there. It's all there. So, it's good stuff. It's fun, and we usually pull it out and watch it for about 6 weeks over the fall into our leading up to Halloween, and so we've taken on that and watched a few episodes and.
Wow,
what?
Who's that?
Wow.
That's BB. That's our black cat. It's her season.
They're tearing up the house. They're running all over the place, Sally. There's some serious zoomies going on.
They're chasing something, and I'm not really sure what it is.
Yeah,
but
there is something going on. Anyway, Yeah. Also, I started watching, and I got Salliebug into it. It's called Into the Night. It's on Netflix. It's a French apocalyptic disaster drama that's fairly new, as far as I know. And it's about these people who are getting on a flight to Moscow, and it gets hijacked by somebody who overheard that the sun is killing everybody. And so they have to get up into the air on this airplane. He basically hijacks them to start flying west under the cover of night, and the episodes ensue of them trying to escape being caught by the sunrise, which would result in instant death. And so it makes for some really interesting character study. Really a la Walking Dead, like how would humans react to such a situation? And of course you have your different character types and all fighting for against each other and with each other against a common cause, to survive, basically. Stego?
We have recently watched on Disney Plus the recent film Cruella.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
it
we
was
just wanted to turn off our brain for the night. and watch
Oh, I
something
can
bad.
understand that.
it's fun. It was a fun little popcorn movie.
It was bad, and we loved it.
terms of
That's
it
what I was
being,
waiting
like,
for, the review.
Yeah, in terms of it being like a story for children,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain actions, behaviors by the main character that I would take issue with children emulating. But
I don't think Cruella should be a role model for children. And at times that line does become blurry.
Interesting.
But no, in general, it was just fun.
it's fun.
Some
In a
Disney
word,
fun.
In a word, fun. Period.
What I've been obsessed with for the past 2 weeks, though, is Psychonauts 2.
I'm curious, like, is it like, are you able to control the controller? Have they kind of like improved like that movement thing so that it's easier
I would say
to
there's only
navigate?
one level where I had trouble using the controller in Psychonauts, so I don't quite know what you're referring to. But I would say overall, yes. I would say Psychonauts 2 is generally easier, in that there were like less moments where I felt like I had to execute something perfectly for like 5 minutes, or else I would have to start over. There's really none of that anymore. I had fun. I finished the game. I haven't 100%ed it yet, and I just had fun from beginning to end. About midway through, I'd say it was just like, oh, this is going to be one of my favorite video games ever.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It was everything you love about Psychonauts, the original, and it was improved upon and expanded upon. It just seemed very thoughtful, all of the quality of life updates, and just they expanded, I think I already said that, but it was just they expanded upon so much that I didn't expect that kind of depth in the game. And the story was just really unique, and I was just really
Did the same
interested in the characters. Yeah,
or did they
you're
just go
playing
with
as
completely
Raz.
different ones?
No,
Oh, okay,
same
cool.
characters, same story. You kind of start right where you left off at the end of Psychonauts 1.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
Sounds like we have. Sounds
It's
like
on
we
Game
have.
Pass.
Oh,
I highly recommend it.
nice. It sounds like we have a winner in the game industry here.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay.
Right.
Well, you know what that means. Means we're going to have to buy Psychonauts 2 and try it out.
I think you have Game Pass, though, right?
Well, no, we no longer
expired.
have. Just expired, and we
and we decided not to take it on over the winter months since we don't have a whole lot of time to play extra games anyway. So
yeah,
might pick it back up in the spring.
Yeah, we'll get it back. And so
But
yeah,
it could be a fun game to give as a present.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
like
loved
one-
it.
sounds like
Psychonauts
it has-
2, 100% recommend.
I
all
know
right.
Psychonauts 1 had a lot of replayability, so would be one that wouldn't mind owning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a wrap.
Yeah.
We've gotten to that time where we thank everyone for tuning in, coming out to the Paracasual Destiny podcast. And you can join us live on YouTube every other Saturday night. We're going to shoot for the 7 p.m. hour next time, a couple weeks from now. Listen to the archival audio anywhere you get your podcasts, including now Amazon. So like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can follow us on Twitter at ParacasualP. Look us up. And also, who knows, we may just have a Facebook page soon. So stay tuned to that. Until next time, it's goodbye from all of us here at the podcast. Keep your eyes up and keep having fun. Bye, everyone.
Bye.